hello, how are you? What's up, nerds? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Maddie. If you're new here, I hope your day is going well. So roughly a while ago in a galaxy far, far away, I was watching a video by Leonie. And in that video, she talked about how another booktuber had read a book that was blurbed kind of to be like dark academia teacher-student romance, and it was like this other booktuber's like worst book of the year, like absolutely terrible. The concept of it being like a bad book wasn't groundbreaking, but I was very intrigued by the synopsis or the tagline of dark academia teacher-student romance. Those who are uninitiated, I used to eat teacher-student romances up with a spoon. I loved the Ezra x Arya days and early PLL. I'm not entirely sure that ship didn't damage a specific part of my brain. I'm pretty sure Miss King owes me some money for therapy. So the fact that this book was getting traction and another booktuber had said that it was kind of ass, I added to cart and bought immediately. So after reading this monstrosity of Gothikana, I made a video on it. And that video on my channel did really well. Like I hit 10K subscribers, a big goal on the channel. And then that video got demonetized and age restricted. Yay! I very easily could have like re-uploaded the video and edited it, but I decided to eat it and just kind of move on because it was something that like, it wasn't necessary for me to like fight that battle for this book, you know, you know what I'm saying? I just assumed that if someone wanted to watch the video, they would probably bypass the trigger warning that YouTube put on it, despite the video having a trigger warning in the video. But people still watched it. It's still one of my top viewed videos on the channel to date. But additionally, if you haven't watched that video, I would recommend you pausing this video, opening another tab, or just going and watching it real quick on your phone and then coming back to this, because otherwise you're gonna be really confused about what we're talking about today. I always knew that we would be returning to the world of Gothikana in some form or fashion. I just thought it was going to be in a form of a sequel. It was not. Instead, what I can only guess is the twist of the ages. Tor publishes Gothikana under a new romance imprint. I'm sorry, what? Cut the cameras. Deadass. So of course I put this shit on hold at the library. I was not going to be giving this author any more money at all. But I put this on hold at the library, picked it up, forgot to read it, turned it back in, picked it up, forgot to read it, turned it back in, and we're finally now in April, and this came out in like February. So thank you for being patient. This has been on the docket for a while, mostly because the intention for this video was for me to reread this. I got about this far through and decided to give up. I cannot do this again. I value my sanity too much to revisit Corvina and Vad for any length of time. I can give you a couple of basic things I noticed that the Tor reprint did, and they're pretty much minuscule. They got rid of the stupid playlist. They did keep a lot of the weird Pinterest pictures for some reason, but they did update the maps, which I guess is probably the least they could have done for this re-release. What I found interesting too was the only thing that Unplug typewriter company just followed me. Interesting. The only thing that I can say that I noticed in the text that was changed was that Corvina's fishtail braid was now just a regular braid, because apparently fishtail was a little 2012, and I told that sentence to a guy and he's like, I have fucking no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, that's okay. So despite the fact that I just couldn't make my way through this, I still wanted to do a video on this particular situation because there were a couple things that kind of came out with this book and its release that I find interesting, if not fucking unnerving when it comes to the publishing industry on a whole. This is where Tor comes in. Unplugged typewriter wants to send me a message. Okay, maybe they'll send me a typewriter. That sounds fucking sick. If you don't know, Tor is one of my favorite publishing houses of all time. They predominantly produce sci-fi fantasy, and they are pretty good at what they do. Victoria Schwab is one of their top authors. I can't actually name their authors off the top of my head. There's a lot of them. It's a good company. Or they have a good list of books that I like. They have come under fire for a couple of big controversies recently, namely AI. So back in 2022, they released Fractal Noise by Christopher Paolini, the guy that did the Dragon book. Not that dragon book, the other one. I know BookTok girlies, keep up with me. Yes, TikTok girlies, there's more than one dragon book. Video on that soon. It ended up being discovered that this cover was created with the use of an AI image, and this naturally blew up in their face because this is a huge release and you usually work with artists. Why didn't you work with an artist for the biggest release of this season? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. They end up giving this like non-apology where they basically said, we work with artists, but we're not changing this cover. Okay. Color me not shocked when what else ends up having an AI cover? Gothikana!
How do we now 100% know that these are AI generated images? Because some of the Adobe stock images have been found. Generative AI. Generated with AI. It is quite literally in the title of the asset that was used. But wait, there's more. This very obviously AI-generated rose was also located. Vintage classic painting black rose bouquet on dark background. Generative AI.
This book that had a ton of Pinterest pictures in it had an AI-generated cover? Wow, like I knew the bar was in hell, but like what the fuck? So because I wanted to do a little bit more digging into the situation that was Tor acquiring this title, I looked into the romance imprint that they created called Bramble, and I didn't find a lot. Bramble's webpage has nothing on it. You click it, it asks you if you are 13 to 15 years old, which is weird considering the fact that all of the books I think they publish are for adults and sexually explicit, but there is literally no information about Bramble's catalog. It's just a front page unless I was very dumb and unless I was like not clicking the right button, I could not find anything about Bramble's catalog on Bramble's website itself. If you go to like Macmillan's website, you can actually find all of the information about like Bramble's catalog, but it's not on Bramble's website. As I was digging in, it seems like there's some conflicting information about who's running the show over Bramble, and the articles about this imprint are few and far between, which I find interesting considering the fact that it's a brand new publishing imprint, and a big thing that's selling right now is like dark romance and like TikTok romance, like BookTok is creating a publishing boom, and Bramble seems like it could have been at the forefront of that conversation, and it just doesn't seem like that's happening. On that note, I thought Gothikana was the first release with Bramble. I don't know where I got that information from. I don't know if that's something I misconstrued, because Bramble actually launched back in 2023 with Wrath and Ruin by the effervescent Jennifer L. Armentrout from Blood and Ass fame. You will have no idea how many times it took me to do that sentence. I'm going to drink a little bit of water now. So of course I went through their catalog and tried to figure out like what books were credited to them. Some of them weren't credited to Bramble. They were credited to Flatiron Books or Tor, or like just, it was just a general weird, like not quite clear who was actually at the head of the ship, especially at the early days of this publishing house. A lot of this information could have been cleared up if the website had any information about the imprint itself, and not just like a blank page that keeps asking you if you're between the ages of 13 and 15 years old. It's really weird. I don't know why this kept happening. Let me get to the juicy shit of this video. I found a blog post on the Tor Forge blog from the VP of Bramble, whose name is Monique Patterson. This blog post is basically a reminiscence on like about a year's worth of Bramble being in existence. She leads this post with a reference to her friend who decided to like bring the idea of a romance imprint to her, and she references this colleague as the Dark Lord and Emperor of Tor, which is something that is a conventionally weird thing to say about a colleague, but I don't know this person. Apparently this is a known factoid. This person's Twitter bio says this: not a hugger, I like Prosecco, rye and cheese, don't expect hand-holding, no opinions here. Like, I don't know what it is about this Twitter bio that just rubs me the wrong way, but it just doesn't give wants to create a romance imprint. I don't know what it says, but it definitely doesn't say that. So as this article goes through it, she actually outlines pretty much every like release that they've had up to now, or whenever this blog post was released. I'm not a journalist, I'm just a girl with an internet connection and a penchant for being a little too nosy. They've added a few sci-fi novels, they have a couple fantasy novels, which again, you can only see on the like main publishing house's website, but not on the Bramble website. I don't understand. But then we get to some good stuff in this post. I'm sure many of you have heard about this intriguing author and her simply iconic novel with those deep purple edges, because Runix is like no one else and Gothikana is like nothing else. Even though it's ceaselessly modern, don't think this dark academia romance is anything less than the real original Gothic with a big G deal. Runix absolutely knows her chops. Fucking debatable! And you will be utterly immersed in the dark romance between Corvina and Vad in the mysterious world of Vermorn University riddled with secrets and danger. At Bramble, we've been obsessed with Gothikana since last May, but it only published 3 weeks ago to become an instant New York Times, USA Today, and Publishers Weekly bestseller. One early reviewer said this book changed her brain chemistry. Join the cult. For an editor who supposedly has 25 years in the game, there's a lot of run-on sentences in that paragraph. Also, join the cult? I do think it's funny that they reference an early reviewer when this book was out in the world as an indie published title for quite some time before it got picked up. And some of these are also other indie published titles, but she just doesn't seem to reference that, especially when it comes to Gothikana. And I'm not entirely sure why. This book clearly existed prior to Tor picking it up, Bramble, excuse me. But why are we not paying attention to that? And also, it's written terribly. What? I also love the call out of the deep purple edges because hot take, piping tea. We need to let sprayed edges die. It's a gimmick. It's a marketing ploy. It makes people buy shit they don't need, and it honestly doesn't even look that good. Just let it go, let it go. Also that shit. A twist I did not see coming was a author I enjoyed as a teenager entering the chat. Does anyone remember Melissa Marr in the Wicked Lovely series? I really enjoyed this series. It was kind of like Faye, but more like Holly Black pre-Cruel Prince Faye, where it was very gritty and kind of naughty, and not Sarah J. Maas Faye. Very specifically. The incomparable Melissa first made her mark in 2007 with the iconic Wicked Lovely and has been publishing lovely contemporary fantasy ever since. I knew from the start that Remedial Magic would be perfect for Bramble, not the least because of Tor's famously lesbian-rich catalog. Remedial Magic has the charming magic school dynamics of the magicians and the magical lesbian romance of One Last Stop. Unplugged Typewriter Company just DM'd me about my Gothikana review. What the fuck is happening right now? What is killing me about this line is the famously lesbian-rich catalog of Bramble. And because at this point, I don't recall this article even referencing a singular other lesbian romance, sapphic romance, anything of the sort. But also, lesbian-rich catalog? Sign me the fuck up, please. I do plan on picking this one up. I did put it on hold. It came in at the library and I completely forgot about it. Girl hasn't been reading again. My Goodreads challenge is bullying me already. I'm like 7 to 10 books behind. We're not gonna talk about it. I also love the fact that at this point as a reviewer with this much time in the game, I can tell when an editor is an editor and an editor is an editor. Because just look at this. Can't spell treason without T, and its sequel, A Pirate's Life for Tea, follows Chianti and Reina as they nope out of the violence and politics of high court life to run away and open a bookstore that sells tea, where readers of legends and lattes will feel right at home. I'm gonna myself. But the kicker of this one fish, two fish, I don't know where that analogy's going, is the part that Monique says, one of the many things that is key to book knocking it out of the park is for the cover to be just as stunning as the story itself. Our art department, working with highly talented artists, has produced one amazing cover after another. She references another cover and a completely different title, but girl, we know you're using AI? What art department? Greg the intern, who's having to put covers on your desk every week and knows a singular artist and then has to Google AI images of Gothic cages or Gothic roses or castles or I just genuinely am confused by the concept that you have an art department but your biggest release has a AI'd cover. To be fair, there is a lot of conjecture happening in this video, even more so on my part. I usually don't implicate real life people in these videos, but I just felt like I needed to go down this rabbit hole and figure out what the fuck is going on at Tor, because my respect for a company that I really, really valued is going in the shitter as we move into this age where AI is available and cutting corners seems to be a prerequisite to being in the publishing industry. editors don't seem to know what they're doing and or don't care, and the art department seems to be made up of who, may I ask? Because it's clear you didn't care about this book, because first of all, did you actually read it? And second of all, why is it AI'd on the cover? If you did like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and let me know down in the comments anything that you would like me to discuss kind of in this style. If you liked Gothikana, that's fine. I don't care. I didn't. This video is not about your opinion. If you want to make your own video, go for it. I'm not gonna watch it, just so you know. You can watch mine. I have a couple other videos kind of like this already planned, so keep an eye out for that. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, follow me on my social medias. This is not my outro. I'm gonna go, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Bye!